how do you know, like you may have a plan with your financial planner, but how do you know like you're ready to financially retire? Like you're ready to retire financially. How do you know that for sure? Like,
well, yeah, I mean, it's actually a really good question. It's so good. I don't have a comeback. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, but I think you worded it well in the sense that there's two sides, right? There's the financial aspect. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's really straightforward. I mean, the numbers are not going to lie. You either have the ability to retire at a certain age or you do not. Mm-hmm. And what we do at our firm, for example, is we'll typically ask you what age you'd like to retire, what in your mind, what would be an ideal date. And then we'll use that as kind of a worst case scenario when we begin building out the various plan assumptions for them.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if let's say somebody worked until they're 70, right? And so they've got all these assets and things they've accumulated. Well, if I run a plan and they can retire, let's say at 65, meaning they've been planning with me for 5 years, they could have retired at 65, then it's really a no-brainer that they can retire at 70.
Yeah.
Assuming there's been no major, changes in their life, right? Expenditure wise, so forth. So I'm just saying the financial side of it in our firm, we're typically going to give someone a range, meaning if they come in and say, I want to retire when I'm 60, well, we'll run that. And if it works, then we're going to start backing it up year by year. And we're going to give them a range and say, if you want to work till 65, that's great. But from what I can see, you could also retire at 62 or at 60 or, whatever the number is, if you desired to. And when they hit that age, right, as they're coming in and doing their annual checkups with us and so forth, we just take it year by year. Right.
Yeah.
So how you feeling? Now we're getting on to the other side.
Yeah.
We already know you can do it, right?
Yeah.
Financially speaking, you can get it done. Now the question is, do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Right. Because there's a big difference, right? And I've said this over the years, kind of jokingly, but it's not. There's a big difference in working because you want to and working because you have to.
Yeah.
If you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you could pull the plug tomorrow and you're going to be just fine for the rest of your life, that takes a lot of stress off of the way you come about your work.
Yeah.
Right. The way you show up, those kind of things, because if you've got a jerk of a manager, let's say, and he really gets in your grill one day and is giving you a hard time. Hey, buddy,
I don't need you, man.
I don't need you. Right. Good luck. Right. I mean, so, and I'm not saying that to be,
I get it.
Don't be rude and crass or anything like that. I'm just saying it is a mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. And, it's an important mindset because I know we've talked about in previous videos about, some of the things that are not told to people about retirement. And one of them is the stress that can come across when you don't have the job anymore and you're getting your income to pay the bills differently. Right. And so for a lot of people, I mean, I've got clients that they don't want to quit working.
Yeah.
They have plenty of assets. They could retire at any time, but they enjoy their work. Now, maybe they approach it different.
Yeah.
Some of them may retire officially and then continue to work for the company in some type of reduced hour contract, position or something.
Yeah. Reduced capacity time or whatever else. So they can still spend time with family and go on vacations.
And believe it or not, a lot of times it's the company that asks them to do that. Yeah. They don't want to lose the intellectual capital. And so they're like, well, sure, go ahead and retire. You can collect your benefits, all this kind, all that stuff. But what do you think about working 20 hours a week?
Yeah.
Right. Because they've got people that they need to train. Right.
That's true.
And there can be many reasons. That's just one, but So, I mean, the personal side of it, like we used to pass out a book, and I've not done it in many years, but it was a book called Halftime. Okay. And the whole book was basically written from the perspective kind of sports, right? But it's written from the perspective of the latter half of your life, right? And it's the whole concept of not retiring from something, but retiring to something.
Yeah.
What purpose does that person have in their mind? Should they not want to work at all anymore? What is their purpose? What are they retiring to? What do they want to do in those years? Because I'll tell you, it is really rare that a retiree stays truly retired for more than maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
Meaning they get bored. Whatever their hobby is, they've played all the golf that they can stand to play at least on a daily basis, and they want something to do because, especially for men, for example, work is how we validate many times ourselves, right? The quality of our work, the hard work ethic. And then you retire and you're sitting in your recliner watching TV all day. Where's the validation? There's no, you literally can become depressed, right? Yeah. So everyone's different. Everyone's unique, but it's a great question because there is two different sides of it. There is the human element and the financial element.
Yeah.
Okay. And the way to know whether you're ready is number one, what does the financial side look like? Right. Meaning, can you not work anymore?
Yeah.
But the other side is that really what you want to do?
That's true.
Do you not have a purpose to go forward to? Meaning to retire to?
Yeah.
And so I think answering that question before you get ready to hang up your spurs, is a great way to approach it.
Is there any issue when it comes to let's say you've set up your plan for that range from 60 to 65, right? And you come in and you're like, I want to continually work. Okay, that's totally fine, blah, blah, blah. And they get to be about 70, 72. And then they're like, I do want to retire. Well, you have the assets that we can put this into place. And then what if 2 years later, they're like, I want to go back. If they keep coming back and forth, could that create issues in the plan or the game plan? Or
well, it's not going to create it shouldn't create problems in terms of whether or not they could retire 2 years later when they change their mind or whatever the case is. What it may do is it may affect certain aspects of the plan, like taxable income.
That's what I was at. I was curious if that would be an issue if they start.
But if you've built the plan properly, you should have the ability or the flexibility rather to adjust things within their plan so that it's a minimal hit at best in terms of taxation and so forth. Okay. Right. So there's ways to get around that. Okay. But there certainly can be implications in many ways, especially if it's a rather large amount of income that's coming in.
Yeah. Right? Depending on what you're making and pulling. If you're working at a flower shop, it's probably not going to be as bad.
Well, Grandpa Bob at 74 starts a gardening podcast channel and all of a sudden he realizes he's, making 15 grand a month and he's, doing podcast on gardening.
He's got that green thumb.
Yeah. Right. And, that's a situation where sometimes there's not a way to get around certain tax issues and things. Maybe it's not a pleasant way to think about it, but if you're having to pay taxes, right? Because they are kind of a necessary evil and unfortunately, in the country in which we live. I'd say if you're having to pay taxes, count your blessings, right? Yeah. I mean, if your income's higher, you're going to pay taxes. I mean, even trying to minimize them through various strategies and things that we can use, it's rare that people completely escape them altogether, just depending on how they're structured and what they do for a living. Yeah.
I mean, it's better than, being homeless underneath a street corner.
Better than having
no situation,
income and no taxes.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Okay, man. Okay. That's awesome.